Good afternoon, Muttonistas. It's time for another Chinese adventure. I've brought you a fair few videos from Beijing, even more from Sichuan province, but many of you might not know that there's another part of China which specialises in very, very spicy food. Now I'm in Hunan province in the capital city Changsha, and I'm hoping that I'm going to taste some great local specialities and end up with a hot and comfortably numb mouth. Join me for today's food vlog. Well, Muttonistas, this would not be the first time that I've had Hunan or Hunanese cuisine in China. I've had it in America and Europe as well, and it most definitely isn't the same thing. So, I'm hoping I'm going to get the real deal here. I know a few dishes, but my knowledge is a little bit patchy, and I hope it's going to get better, and the man, as always, who's going to help me is Mr. Fu. Now, it's very crowded and difficult to film here, as you can see people walking in front of the camera, but I want to know from Mr. Fu what the big difference is between Hunanese and Sichuan cuisine.
Actually, they're all spicy, but the chili is different from Sichuan province and Hunan province. More dry, but they cook it in almost same way, but the taste is 100% different. So that's all. Every time we have Hunan, we know what kind of spicy we're going to have. Sichuan is like Chengdu and Chongqing, slightly different, but Hunan is big. We can have something there for your snack, but you can taste the difference of the spices.
Okay, and are Sichuan peppercorns used in Hunan cuisine?
Not very often.
So fresh chili more often?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dry and fresh.
Okay. Well, Muttonistas, I've saved myself all day for this. It's mid-afternoon. I've had precisely one tangerine all day, so I am ready to pile in. And I can see some kebabs in the background and all sorts of other goodies, actually, to get us started.
吃的大的，我一样来一串行吗？让他先尝尝。行。
So what do we have here?
Yeah, this is your favorite mutton.
Okay.
Beef, and that is what they call the Arabic style.
Okay.
That's Arab.
Arabic?
Yeah.
I guess it's not pork then.
No. 25七串。好。211还有那个啊，鱿鱼。对，行。行。
And I can spot here 101 types of chicken feet. In fact, this one here on the right almost looks as if it's Thai with fresh chili and lime. Wow.
These are all chicken feet.
And apparently they don't have any bones. No bones chicken feet. Wow. I mean, man, there's so much going on here. So many different food stalls. I could spend all afternoon and evening here. In fact, I might just do that. Okay, it's fair to say we are a long way from the sea and the ocean, but octopus seemed to be the speciality of the stall, so we had to try it. Beautifully tender and beautifully spiced. Actually, not too dissimilar to the Sichuan style of making these little sticks or kebabs. Next, a mutton kebab, a mini mutton kebab. Those of you who watch my Limerick vlog will see that I posed by a
哪个是那
statue
阿拉
of Terry
伯狗？
Wogan. I remember when he used to present the British quiz show Blankety Blank. He had a tiny microphone a bit like this, like a wand. I don't understand why that particular kebab is so small. Maybe it's a prime cut. A Mutton Muttonistas, that Arabic kebab. It's mutton and it seems pretty well spiced. I'm not sure what makes it Arabic. I guess it's probably halal. Yeah, really, really tender meat and very well spiced as well. I suspect stuff you get, well, no, in fact I know, stuff you get in the Arabian Peninsula would never be as spiced as this, but I prefer this. Now for a beef kebab, and I'm also in urgent need of a little napkin or handkerchief because the juices and spices are spilling down my chops. And again, pretty tender, pretty tasty, but for me, well, I must do as the prime mutton, regard mutton as having a little bit more flavour. It's still a very tasty kebab though. And now for the mutton kebab. Not quite sure why this is different, the mutton kebab, to the Arabic kebab. What's the difference?
I can't tell. I have no idea.
Okay, Muttonistas, what a start. And I'm so intrigued by all these boneless chicken feet behind me that I thought I have to try a few of those as well. So many varieties, I'm going to need an explanation. So what are the different types here?
他说都有什么不同的口味吗？ Oh, different sort of spices.
And is this Thai styles?
酸辣。
酸辣.
Yeah. Sour and
That's
spicy.
Thai, yeah, that's definitely Thai. And what about the black ones?
这黑的是什么味儿的？啊？乌鸡的 one kind of chicken we have.
Oh, black chicken, okay. Okay, rather than having to buy a full tub, we've kindly been given a taste. This is the Swan La version, sort of hot and sour, and very much, as I said, in the Thai style. Yeah. Very much as I expected, bursting with those lime flavours. I mean, citrus, chilli, Thai all over. Surprised to find it here, but I'm glad they have it. And now the black chicken. Black chicken actually is quite a speciality in a lot of cuisines. I've never had one of the feet before. This one not as spicy, prepared with fresh chilli, and I was expecting a bit of vinegar, but not so. Maybe some of the other varieties are. Still pretty good. And when I have black chicken, it's a dish I really like. I don't think, though, there's a big difference in the quality of the feet. And I was going to move on to another stall, but the lady said, no, you've got to try the Sichuan style one in vinegar. So this is pickled, and I'm used to having pickled chicken's feet at various dim sum outlets. Amongst other things, the Cantonese style, again, different. Yes, and that's good. And I think vinegar actually lends itself well to this sort of cold piece of offal. So I would recommend going for those three, the Thai, the Blackfoot and the pickled chicken foot, if you happen to find yourself at this or a similar store. Anyway, we've just arrived on the street and I've pigged in at the first two stalls. Better take it easy and move a bit further along the street.
争取争取。
Oh wow, that's interesting. Stuffed chicken. What is this here?
这是什么呀？intestine
with leek in the inside.
with
spring onion.
Onion, 对 yeah,
Spring onion.
Yeah, that's duck.
Duck. Sweets.
Yes. All seafood.
Seafood and snails. What's that? Is that abalone?
Yes, abalone.
Oh. More sticks and kebabs and even greater variety here. Wow.
Yeah. Famous Changsha tofu.
Changsha tofu. deep fried, I can see, into balls. Apparently it's called Changsha smelly tofu. Some people don't like it. I can tell you something, I caught a good whiff of that. It has a strong smell. All cooked.
Cooked. We'll have this.
Yeah.
Do you want to taste?
Yeah, okay.
来一个，给他们来一个。对对，生蚝。
And oh wow, look at all that, those bad boys going on top. Fresh chili and chili oil. Now, we are, of course, a long way from the sea, and I like raw oysters, but probably better here to actually have them cooked. I don't see why they shouldn't be fresh, because seafood travels around all parts of China, but this is the way they do them anyway, and I quite like oysters cooked as well. They're not as good cooked, but I'm sure this will be delicious and set my mouth on fire. So we have taken a little precaution. And yes, Muttonistas, I am a brave and varied eater, but I'm going to pass on those insects, I think. And I might have a bit of this fruit later. It looks pretty good and pretty cold. Look at these, look at these. And I do wonder if we went to the right stall. They look massive, those oysters do, absolutely enormous. Although size is not always the most important thing. Spiny lobster, prawn, crab, and massive, well, real lobsters.
This is Guizhou style. Guizhou.
And that sticky rice, I like sticky rice, Guizhou style, a province that's not too far away from here. I've not actually been there, I think, and reviewed it, but I will do sometime. And what's he doing in the pan?
In the pan, 那里边是什么呀？prawns.
And although crayfish are not actually a local speciality, I bet you when you add the Hunan spices, they're really tasty. I've had a lot of Sichuanese style crayfish, and I hope on this trip maybe I'll get to try some.
Here, yeah. You put everything together.
Okay, so Muttonistas, that was a sort of local style hot pot. You can see the diagram in the background, and apparently you choose from all these different meats and vegetables and they put it together for you. And I don't see any celery, which is good. Okay, Mr. Fu's going to have one first. Diving straight into the chili rather than the actual flesh of the oyster. I suspect my bottle of water is going to go pretty quickly.
This is still a little bit hot.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tear it apart.
Good. And I take it there's no bad smell which would suggest a stale oyster.
No.
No.
Delicious.
Right, the shell is just about cooled down sufficiently. It does inject a lot of heat. Still pretty firm and meaty, so they haven't overcooked the oyster so much. And that mouthful of chili as well. Well, I don't think I've actually had an oyster like that before, but I'm glad I tried it. Pity there's no white wine available in this store, but we can't have everything, can we?
No.
Quail and rabbit's head, apparently. Gosh. And that, Muttonistas, is the finished article. They're all queuing for their smelly tofu here. I'm going to have to try it. Okay, Muttonistas had to take a little break after those oysters, kebabs and chicken feet and what have you. And now it's time for absolutely one of the local specialities, Hunan stinky tofu. Now, if you can see at the back, it says, hey, hey, black, smelly tofu. Not sure what it means by it being black, because tofu is normally white or pale, but there's such a big queue here behind me, and Mr. Fu's in the queue, that it must be good, this place. Because unlike in parts of Europe where people go for something often because of the price, if there's a queue, it means it's good. Anyone for a takeout? So inside the shop here, apart from the tofu store itself, have all sorts of stuff, packets of sweets, of sausages, of spices. My sort of souvenir shop, really. I know what some of the stuff is here, but there's a whole ocean of stuff here. Haven't a clue what it is. So, Mr. Fu has the goods, the smelly tofu, and I don't know why it's black. Why is it black?
Because they, after the tofu, they put it into a special sort of, it's not water, but they have special ingredients to make it black,
Okay.
just for the taste.
Okay, and what are the toppings here?
That's the Hunan chili, coriander,
yeah.
and make it very tasty, but I won't try it, to be honest.
Okay, not Mr. Fu's cup of tea, this. But you know, Muttonistas, I am always game for these things. Now, this looks a bit awkward with a cocktail stick to eat, so.
I mean, I know you have lots of adventures, but this is not for me. No.
No, okay, yes, it does smell strong, but it does actually taste pretty good. It's like it's deep fried, coated in spices, and remember, tofu assumes the flavours of everything you cook it in. Some of you think it's a quivering white mass of bland protein. Not at all. And I am enjoying this, Muttonistas. Anyway, I shall get on with this, and we'll be back with a spot of dinner a bit later. Wow, Muttonistas, that was excellent. And Mr. Fu was asked whether we wanted it spicy, and he told them not to hold back, so we had a proper spice experience. Friendly lady in the back there, friendly ladies at the back. And this place opens till 1 in the morning, and in fact the little kebab store that we went to before, that opens till 2, opens at 9. Hard work, but I mean, after a few pints, I have to say, I'd love to be able to get snacks like that in Britain or Ireland.
The inside of the...
Crayfish dumplings, that's very unusual. Right, Muttonistas, dinner time. The sign I can see behind me says Lan Wen Ko Fendian. I don't know what that means, except for I know Fendian means restaurant, so maybe Mr. Fu can tell us what it means and what sort of dishes they do.
This is a local speciality. I found quite a few things you will like, but I never tried this sort of Hunan cuisine, because the thing in north is a little bit different. This is the heart of the Hunan province. Hopefully they have the real thing you can try.
Okay, I'm looking forward to that. We'd better get some more ice cold water to extinguish any fires.
Yes. Okay. 2位上楼啊！这2位，给我们个大点的桌子，看我太胖，看外国人太胖，那边行，那边行。可以啊。Okay.
Yeah, close to the air conditioner is good. Okay, Muttonistas, 2 floors, big restaurant. They also have an open kitchen, which you probably just saw, which is great. And sit upstairs, unless you like it really hot. It is boiling in this part of China at this time of the year. In fact, I understand all of China's suffering a bit of a heat wave. And upstairs, they've got a bit of decent aircon. Not mutton-style aircon, but, you know, it'll do. And there's the QR code which Mr. Fu scanned, and I'd be prepared to bet that there's absolutely nothing in English. Right, Muttonistas, not a word of English on the menu, not a word of English spoken anywhere, only foreigner in here, and that's the way I love it, because I am going to get the real deal, a traditional Hunanese meal. Anyway, the dishes have started to arrive. down to the table. One you might know first, bai cai, a Chinese white cabbage or white vegetable. That is apparently frog, diced frog, and that is pork with green chili peppers, which is a dish I'm actually familiar with. And apparently there are restaurants that specialise in that pork and chili dish with a few side dishes only, and we saw one with a massive queue outside it. And are they a chain?
Why this dish is so popular? Because this dish is a test of the chefs. And the guy called Mr. Fu, he's very famous in this chef to cook this dish. That's why people queued up for it.
So absolutely a signature Hunan dish here, Muttonistas, and I'm going to see whether the chef is worth his weight here or not. That is good. But Mr. Fu's probably had this dish a lot more often than I have, so does it compare favourably here?
This is pretty good, but the one dish restaurant, that's a lot better than this. It's simply called 辣椒 means chili, 炒肉 means pork. You can find out why they call the restaurant just the name of the dish.
So the pork is actually pretty tender, as always sliced into thin strips. The chilies are not that spicy, it's not going to blow your head off. But there's quite a taste of soy and in particular black beans in there. So people who like beef in black bean sauce in European Chinese restaurants, I think you probably like that dish. A little bit spicier, but not that spicy. A bit of the veg now.
血压.
Nicely done, no surprises there, except I'm astonished by how much more garlic they seem to use in Hunan than in most other Chinese provinces I've been to. They really do smother everything with garlic. And next, frog, I think with some sort of preserved vegetable, a very popular ingredient in Hunan food. Okay, the frog. So that is quite a dangerous dish in many ways. There are bits of bone in the frog, which is surprising given how small the cubes are. And lots of chilies in there. I got a bit of a warm tongue tasting that one. Again, it wasn't ridiculous, but it is noticeably spicy, but you should expect that in this part of China. And now some duck. Now, this sauce, Mr. Fu, looks a little darker than normal. What have they done differently here?
This duck is from another city in Hunan province called Yongzhou. It's famous for their duck, but the way they cook it, I haven't tried it yet, but I think the way they cook it, lots of ginger. Ginger is very strong feel in this dish. I don't know how they make the sauce that dark. It's interesting. First time I'm having this.
Okay, I'd better get stuck into the duck. Okay, Muttonista, so again you have to watch for bones and you have to watch for chili. But it's quite interesting. It is very gingery, as Mr. Fu says. And for a cuisine that I thought would just be full on spice, it's actually quite a subtle blend of flavours to give that rich ginger sauce. Now, onto the aubergine, and I've seen the Sichuan style, but this looks a bit different, and why so different?
The aubergine is very popular vegetable. If you have it in outside China, you can have Cantonese food, which they have this dish. Sichuan, they have this dish, but not surprisingly, Hunan also. This is the same thing like what I said before. The spice must be the spice they use different.
Okay, this is apparently very hot temperature-wise as well. I mean, look at it steaming away there. But I do love an aubergine, another great veg, another great foodstuff for soaking up spice. And what you're getting there, apart from a slightly oily sauce with a lot of garlic, chives, chilies, a hint of ginger, no Sichuan peppercorns, no sweetness at all, and no dried chilies. That's what makes it different, Muttonistas. But I'm loving it, absolutely loving it. And finally, Muttonistas, the pièce de résistance, the most famous, or in my view, the most famous dish, or the most famous fish dish at least, the big fat spicy fish head. Just look at that, just look at that. And it is, as always in China, a big meaty fish head. None of these tiny ones you get in Europe. And whilst this is my first time in Hunan province, I've been to plenty of Hunan restaurants throughout China, and this is my favourite Hunan dish, so far at least, and I can guarantee you none of that will be left by the end of the meal. Okay, here we go, smothered in chilies, and usually the sauce contains a little bit of vinegar. They add tofu so you can mop up more of the sauce, and Mr Fu's just had a little taste and confirmed the presence of vinegar. And we just sought some clarification from the staff there. It's not actually vinegar they use in the cooking, it's a blend of fresh chilies and pickled chilies, which is where the slight vinegary sourness comes from, which is great, a great flavour in there. It's only very slight, and of course be careful about the bones. These river fish that you get in inland China, big, fat and meaty, but also quite bony. Some would say that's what makes some of the fish so flavoursome out here. And of course it goes without saying, plenty of garlic in here as well. And of course, Muttonistas, when you delve towards the bottom, that's where the really spicy bits are to be found, where the fish has been coated with chili. And of course, the tofu that's lying at the bottom as well. Well, that's going to be full of spices it's soaked up. Right you are, Muttonistas, properly spicy. Got a bit of ginger in there as well. Anyway, I'm going to have a little slurp of water because that has just caught the back of my throat. We're going to eat as much of this as possible, and of course all of the fish head, all of that fishy goodness, and we'll be back with you when we polish as much off as we can. So, as promised, that fish head, all gone. The aubergine was so good, all gone, and we grazed at the pork, the frog, the duck, and the cabbage. And I have got a proper dab on. When I got to the bottom of the fish, and especially the bottom of that aubergine dish, it became chilli city, and I am sweating like mad. Drinking cold water, we're going to get some chilled fruit to take back to the hotel, but wow, this was fantastic. Probably not a restaurant you could find by yourself, but if you know somebody Chinese, try and get them to take you here if you can. I couldn't find out the name of the fish. It said something about milleter fish, buckfish, jackfish, so I don't know. There are lots of fish that we never see in the West that are very popular in Chinese restaurants. As for the cost, 200 yuan for everything. That's pretty good value, £22 or about 25 euros. And to be honest, we had enough food here for 4 if you'd have thrown a bit of rice in. We didn't have rice because it's not something necessary, and if you have a really good meal out, as I keep saying in China, the rice, the noodles, comes at the end as a cheap filler. Anyway, that's enough for night 1. I'll be back for the second and final day, for me after a good night's sleep, and for you after a few seconds. Right, Muttonistas, day 2, and you can see it is the evening, quite late in the evening. Had planned to bring you some monuments and some natural beauty, but there's been a bit of local flooding and a thunderstorm, so it's straight on to dinner. But fear not, Muttonistas, this is one of the highlights of Changsha, This restaurant is called Wen He Yo. It looks as if it's in a very, very modern part of the city. If you can see behind me, I mean, even the Grand Hyatt Hotel is part of the same building. But there are plenty of street food stalls outside here, including another place selling that stinky tofu that many of you like and many of you don't like. And I believe once we go in, it's a different world in there. So, Muttonistas, this place is enormous, 5 floors high. We've got a tiny table, even though we order a lot. So many people who want tables here. Big queue outside, as you saw. Thankfully, we've got somewhere near the aircon machine, so I can stay a little cooler in what is a furnace of a city. And I have to say, small tables, low chairs. The prime mutton is going to be a bit hunched up here, but for this quality and this food of high repute, it is worth it. Anyway, Mr. Fu's going to do the ordering. It's by a QR code as usual here, and as usual, whilst there might be the odd picture, there are no words of English spoken here whatsoever. Okay, Muttonistas, I hope the sound of the aircon isn't detracting from the enjoyment of the video. Anyway, I'm sat down now. Yes, it's low. Yes, it's a bit hard, but it's not too bad. And the one thing I noticed a load of people eating when I came in here and walked past their tables was crayfish. I've had Sichuan style crayfish a lot from the Huda chain in Beijing and in Sichuan province itself. So let's see how the Hunan variant differs. Okay. And is that a traditional dan-dan, is it? Yes. Okay, Muttonistas, the dishes have started to arrive and Mr. Fu is having a Budweiser beer. Again, very weak beers available at these restaurants. I'm actually having water until I've got my jet lag sorted out. But this, 3.6%, too weak. And he's ordered a local beer. Is that a Yanjing? Oh no,
Same
a Bai shirt beer. And I have to say, same strength in a bigger bottle, local produce. I don't get it. When later in this trip I take you to some craft beer bars, you will be absolutely astonished by the difference in strength.
I found something quite interesting. You know, before we had hot pot, they have duck blood. It's very good to go with hot pot. Here, they cook a dish, use pig blood. But we all know, according to Chinese medicine theory, pig blood is very good. Especially Cantonese people, when they cook soup, they use pig blood a lot. So here, they might got influence from the Cantonese people. So they make a pig blood dish, and you need to have a go with it. It's hot.
What's the other dish here?
That's traditional Hunan belly pork, but they use, I don't know, but it's tofu, but they make tofu dry, then it's very, very tight, then they cut, and it's very good. I like this dish.
Well, I did mention that the air conditioning might cause a problem, and I love it, and it made me feel comfortable. However, it's knackered the sound. Although I did enjoy very much the pig's blood. I'm into blood dishes wherever you might find them. Then we had the reconstituted tofu, which was delicious and spicy and soaked up a lot of the sauces. And then finally the shredded belly pork, again another winner. Thankfully, Mr. Fu was sitting away from the air conditioning, so everything he talks about is pretty clear and audible. And now, as always in this part of the world, time for a bit of frog. And that looks like frog to me, that does. And it looks very spicy, that does.
My guess is it's all farmed now.
And are those chives, spring onions, the green ones?
Green onion.
Green onions, okay. And what a surprise, Muttonistas. I thought that would be blisteringly hot and spicy, but it wasn't. It was salty and garlicky. And the dish that you might know in the West, which is most reminiscent, is, of course, salt and pepper style. A little bit different to that, and of course, without the heavy batter. The reason I thought it would be spicy is because in Sichuan province, or in Sichuan restaurants, the frog is always extremely spicy, but still very tasty. Don't be put off by eating frog, it's a tasty dish. After all, people in France have been eating it for decades, haven't they? And at this point, the dishes were raining in all over the table. Chicken tendons, yes, chicken tendons, obviously with chilli and garlic, and the speciality of the house, the crayfish. Usually, offal soaks up a load of spices and can be the spiciest dish on the menu, and this one didn't disappoint, Muttonistas. I loved it. This stuff really did numb my mouth. A little bit crunchy, a little bit crispy, but not a part of the animal to be frightened of. I know a lot of you associate all this sort of awful stuff with poverty and scraping out a living and feeding yourselves off whatever pennies you could scrape together. But things have changed now, and these things have become a delicacy. And then time for a more regular cut of chicken, just your normal thigh or leg meat that they tend to use in China. There's not the obsession with breast that we have in the West. But there was a flavour I was struggling to identify. Maybe I should have done better, but thankfully Mr Fu was on hand to talk us through it. And in fact, at first he wasn't sure what that flavour was.
Now I got this one wrong. It's not different sort of oil. It's to do with different kind of ginger. Normally they use like what we every day can buy from the market, the ginger. This one is special grown in Hunan province called 紫油姜. Jiang means ginger. They have a name for it because that's why I make the difference, the ginger.
Thankfully, Mr Fu did peel one for me because it's very messy work, even using two hands, let alone one with a camera. Anyway, as always, do not waste the head. Very important, some great juicy meat to be had in there, which you can usually suck out. The technique I usually use is just to bite down a little bit on the top of the head and then suck everything out. Lovely, garlicky, chilli flavours with the strong taste of the crayfish. Anyway, I was going to put the camera down then, of course, because it's messy work, and it was time to put the gloves on. I'll be back with you in a few ticks.
Before and after.
Mission accomplished. We polished off the lot. Okay, there's not that much meat on them, so it's not as if you're actually eating a huge quantity of food. But what you are is devouring a lot of spice. And the area just above my moustache and below my nose, that had caught fire as my tongue had. So time to calm things down by going back to the rest of the dishes. Calm things down? No, they're spicy as well. But I thought that was the end of play after we'd had the crayfish, the speciality of the house. But no, Mr Fu decided we hadn't had any carbohydrate yet on this trip, so it was time to indulge in some local noodles. So we have some cold noodles which Mr Fu's mixing up, and kebabs. I don't know what the meat is there.
Mutton.
Some fried mutton. And this restaurant doesn't have a spicy hot noodles dish, but it has a spicy cold noodles dish. Often quite refreshing at the end of a spicy meal. And some bonus mutton kebabs as well, and apparently the fat was very important. Anyway, I needed those noodles, moderately spiced, but given they were cold, they were refreshing at the end of that spice fest. And of course, even though it's messed the sound up, I was grateful for that air conditioning blasting over my forehead, which was also on fire.
When you have this mutton kebab, you have to have fat together with the meat. It's very tasty, very juicy. Because you won't have it if there's no fat on it. There's nobody will go for it.
And finally, the noodles. Let's hope that's a great end to the meal. Okay, so I won't be writing any textbooks in the near future about how to eat noodles, but I got the job done with my limited one-handed chopstick skills. Anyway, they did the job. Very refreshing. Don't be put off by the fact that they're cold. They're really good.
Mày done?
Well, Muttonistas, we're going to have to wrap things up here. I'm going to have to love you and leave you. I was very, very comfortably sated by that food. My tongue, the lips and the area above my moustache all comfortably numb after that chili fest. So much more to come from my trip to China. more from Mr. Fu as well. But in the meantime, please remember it helps me a lot if you like my videos, if you share them, tell your friends, and of course if you subscribe. So until next time folks, it's goodbye from Mr. Fu.
Hello, bye. See you in the future videos.
It's goodbye from me, the Prime Mutton, and don't forget, you can't beat a bit of mutton.